A late 70s Mercedes-Benz blocks the right lane of the rusted bridge. The hazard lights flash on and off, illuminating the pitch-black forest ahead. Glassy water below reflects the full moon up through the bridge decking. The driver, Billy, 18, exits the car and inspects the front left tire, his breath visible in the cold air.
"I told you it was a flat,"
said Billy. Sean, 17, exits the passenger side.
"Could have been the spark plugs,"
said Sean.
"On a diesel engine. Go get the spare,"
said Billy. Billy threw the keys at Sean. They bounced off Sean's chest and land on the bridge deck. The shadows below the bridge move slightly. Sean picks up the keys and walks to the back of the car. Mark and Katie, both 17, exit the back doors and walk to the front by Billy. Katie wraps a scarf around her neck.
"What happened?"
said Mark.
"A flat,"
replied Billy. Sean opened the trunk.
"You just have one spare?"
said Sean.
"No, Sean, I keep 4 spare tires in my pocket just in case someone asks me a stupid question. Good, because the back tires are flat too,"
replied Sean.
"What?"
said Billy.
"So's this one,"
added Katie. Katie pointed to the front right tire.
"What did you run over?"
said Mark.
"Nothing. This is bullshit,"
Billy replied. Mark rolls his eyes and walks away from the group.
"I gotta piss."
Mark walks to the railing and urinates off the side of the bridge. The stream of urine splashes in the water 10 feet below. There's a faint sound of metal tapping on metal. Tink, tink, tink. Billy dials a number on his cell phone.
"Who you calling?"
said Sean.
"Your mom. Gonna see if I can ride her ass home,"
responded Billy.
"Fuck you, Billy. Fix your piece of shit car yourself,"
scolded Sean. Sean and Billy argue back and forth. The sound of splashing urine suddenly stops. Katie looks towards Mark. He's not there,
"Hey, where's Mark?"
said Katie. Sean and Billy don't hear her. They're too busy arguing. Katie walks over to the railing where Mark was just standing.
"Mark?"
shouted Katie. Katie looks over the rail. A dark patch of water flows by. Back at the far end of the bridge, Billy says,
"You're gonna fix one of these flats or your ass is walking home."
To which Sean replied,
"I'm not fixing shit."
Suddenly, in the background, Katie silently gets ripped over the side.
"Hey, Mark, let's walk back to your place,"
continued Sean. He turns to face Mark and Katie. They're gone. Sean looks to each end of the bridge.
"Mark! Katie!"
Sean listens for a reply. Silence. Sean walks over to the spot where Mark and Katie were just standing. Billy joins him.
"Where the fuck did they go?"
Billy looks over the railing. Katie's scarf floats away in another dark patch of water. Sean stands in the middle of the bridge, looking in all directions for Mark and Katie. As Billy turned toward Sean, then stops suddenly.
Sean?"
Sean whips around and yells at Billy.
"What?
Billy gets yanked off his feet and dragged over the side of the railing. Tink, tink, tink. Sean's eyes go wide. He rushes to the rail and looks over. Billy holds on to the lower railing with a death grip. 2 metallic claws dig into his torso, ripping through his jacket, trying to pull him under the bridge. Blood seeps out where the claws pierce his flesh. Sean reaches down and grabs Billy's wrists. Absolute terror reads across Billy's face.
Don't let go, Sean. Don't let go.
Billy's eyes go vacant. His body weakens.
"I got you, Sean. I won't let go."
Billy's hand slips off the lower rail. Sean's grip slips from Billy's wrist to his hands.
"You're slipping, Billy. You're slipping."
A third claw appears from behind Billy, sinks itself into Billy's shoulder. His hands slip away.
Sean!
Sean stumbles back and falls down in the middle of the bridge. Something scurries around the underside of the bridge deck. Tink, tink, tink. The sounds of bones crushing, flesh ripping apart. Billy's scream is cut off. Blood and entrails dump into the creek. A dark patch of blood flows downstream. Sean stands up.
What the fuck is going on?
He looks down through the metal deck, sees a dozen shadows moving around. The tink, tink, tink of their claws rings in his ears. He stares in disbelief as a pair of yellow eyes stare back. His heart races. Sean looks toward the car. A cloud blocks the moonlight and casts a slow-moving shadow over the car. Tink, tink, tink. Faint shapes crawl out from under the bridge and climb on top of the car. The back hazard lights shatter and go dark. The creatures lumber toward him from within the shadow. The front hazard lights continue to illuminate the forest beyond with every pulse. The squat form of the creatures, silhouetted with each flash. Sean looks towards the other end of the bridge. It's more than 100 feet away. He tries to run, but his feet won't move. He looks down. Some of the creatures are beneath him. Their claws grip his shoes through the metal deck. The shadows move closer. In a frenzy, Sean struggles with all his might to rip his shoes free from the claws. They won't budge. The shadow is almost upon him. Sean crouches and frantically tries to untie his shoes. The shadow is mere feet away. The creatures hiss. He can make out the oblong shape of the creature's head. Dozens of glowing eyes glare at him. He struggles with the knots on his shoes. The shadow is almost upon him. His feet are free. He sprints for the other end of the bridge. The creatures shriek. Underneath, the creatures move with incredible speed, slashing at Sean's feet through the decking. He bobs and weaves to avoid having his feet shredded. He gets a cut on his right foot, a slash on his left. They get bits and pieces of him, but he continues to run. 75 feet to go. He zigzags, trying to confuse the creatures. Their claws are everywhere. 50 feet. Their claws shimmer in the moonlight, like deadly diamonds strewn all over the road. 25 feet. The creatures stop nipping at his feet, and the claws disappear. He quits zigzagging and runs full speed. 10 feet. He's almost there. He gets ready to jump the last few feet when claws pop up through the decking in front of him. Every inch covered. Nowhere safe to step. His foot slams down on a claw. It pierces straight through. The surrounding claws latch down on top of his foot. His momentum carries his upper half forward, but the claws hold tight on his foot. He slams face down on the claws. He screams as they shred the front of his entire body. Just as quickly as the claws rip into him, they stop. He slowly pushes himself up to a kneeling position. Deep slashes cover his front. Blood seeps from every inch. He raises his head up. His left eye is missing. The other is barely recognizable. His lips are ripped off, exposing bare teeth. His nose dangles by a thin piece of flesh. Deep gouges along the sides of his face ooze blood. He looks down at his arms. Exposed bone glistens in the moonlight. Pulsing pools of blood fill the voids in his flesh. He looks up. Glowing yellow eyes hover directly behind him. A hiss. He turns his head to look behind him. The shadow covers him.